And the last thing is, there will be a shakeoff somewhere. I think it will not last long, but it will be enough to drive away newcomers or those who are unsure or not fully committed to the silver and gold markets. Well, they actually switch back and forth. In other words, our times were like silver leads, but when you see major breakthroughs, it's gold followed by silver. The bull market for gold started in the year 2000. I can't remember the month. I haven't checked, but it was in the year 2000. Silver really didn't rise significantly until it went above the 55 level, which happened in September 2003. Let's say that gold started to rise in September 2000. I believe it was early in the year, but around September 2000. 3 years later, silver actually rises in value. That's a significant delay. Then, when silver started its 11-year bull market that we both enjoyed, we both like that. Basically, gold prices went up every year for 11 years in a row. In some of those years, silver did better than gold. Hubo años en los que estuvo apagado. But it was a big bull market for everyone. And then it became very frothy towards the end. It started to rise rapidly, and as you know, I predicted the peak. It's interesting because I heard a podcast with a friend of mine, and he talked about how difficult it is to predict a peak. I would say it's mostly luck, but he didn't mention me. He does, but still, I have good feelings they hurt too much. The important thing is we have many things to move ahead with. The second part of your question is asking if this time is different, right? Sí y no. Yes, it's different, because the problems in the financial system are happening all over the world. More people are noticing this, and we're observing a shift in investments, meaning that large amounts of money are flowing into gold. As I mentioned to you and many others, the rush to gold started years ago when the central bank began to increase its investments in gold. Silver has caught it. It's beginning to do what it did on September 20th. In 2003, there was a significant rise, which I believe is the final push upwards. The gains during this period should be the most impactful for increasing value. However, this phase probably won't last very long compared to the overall bull market. If you started in the year 2000, it has been 24 years until now. If you began from the very beginning, child, remember the month and year. It has been many years since we reached the 1050 mark or whatever it was for gold. We're now almost at 4,000. I believe I provided too much information, Charlotte, but I still feel positive. All bull markets aim to drive out as many participants as possible, and we haven't experienced one of those big shakeouts yet. I think we could have one in October. Primero que nada, lo hiciste muy bien. One of the best signs that you're on top is not just a parabolic rise, but also silver starting to take shape. It really isn't. We know this from the gold-silver ratio. Many people joke about it, but it's actually a helpful tool. If you know how to use it, you use it to check if silver is doing better than gold. The gold-to-silver ratio is still in the 80s, which is very high, compared to history. And I won't be until we reach 70. Today, the gold price is especially good, with a ratio of 71, which means gold would be priced around $55. $55 for silver would be above the $50 mark, which we are all cautious about. I'm discussing this in this month's newsletter. People have different views on the 50 mark. All the technical people mention a double cup. A cup and handle or a cup and handle that has taken 50 years to develop. It's a very important number in terms of psychology. Silver has never gone over 50 and stayed there for more than 50 years. I believe this could be a significant turning point. Once it's done, and I think it will be, we've created something that hasn't happened in 50 years with a precious metal other than silver. I believe this will have some psychological effects on the silver community. The algorithms will also be affected because there will be clear skies. In other words, everyone who has ever owned silver is actually making a profit when considering inflation, but that's not the case for everyone. For many people who bought it, even if we consider inflation from the 30s or later, they haven't seen any real significant profits. I'm not anxious for it to happen. Lastly, in the earlier moves into the 40s, silver didn't remain there for long. Now we are observing a monthly close in the 40s. I'm glad to see us trading in a range, for example, let's say between 47 and 44. Y nos quedamos allí hasta fin de año, después. Many people think that silver can't go up any further. I would say no. We have a stronger foundation to reach higher with more authority than if we just quickly went up there in the next few weeks. What I find scary about being a futures trader is that sometimes the market moves up and keeps going higher without any support or foundation. So far, silver is providing enough support, just like gold, that these are strong markets that persist. I mentioned that I don't usually rely on other analysts, but I do consider their views. However, I focus on my own work and try to make it effective because it's easy to be influenced by others, and that's important. I've learned from many people in the resource sector over the years, but I still try to think for myself. That said, Charles Nanor believes that timing is really important, and he is looking for something in October. I talked about that a few months ago to my premium members. I agree that October is one of the riskier months for the stock market in terms of seasonality. With the current government shutdown, the situation is not improving. It seems that Trump keeps changing his views on Ukraine, and the situation goes on with all the pressures we face as people in a world that just wants peace. We are noticing these trends, and the market is overpriced by any measure you choose to use. This has been true for a long time. You will see people say that it would reach 50, we're either going to 1,000 or to 200. Now you'll notice the extreme ends of the bell curve, and then you'll hear people say it's just a matter of time. It's only been 2 weeks and gold is going to drop. The silver price will fall below 50 because it can't stay at that high level. It never has, and it never will. This is an unusual situation. You can see the two ends of the curve. The 50 anomaly is decreasing, and those are going to increase a lot. Entonces, ¿dónde está en el medio? That's part of my job, to help as many people as possible understand what might happen in a given situation. What is the highest price? And no one can choose that in advance. I believe that psychology will work in favor of silver. What is happening now is similar to the story of Lucy and Charlie with the football. He tries to kick the ball, but she keeps pulling it away from him over and over. Silver investors have witnessed this happen many times, where one solar reached around 35 to 38. The football is being sold for 40 to 44. I'm glad to remove 47 even better. Many people are selling in the silver market. In my opinion, they should stay strong, but they can do what they think is best. Some are only selling part of it because they need money or for other reasons. But when you reach that new level, what's in between it can't go above 50 and it's going to the moon? Well, it's going part way. There will be much less opposition. You notice that algorithms begin trading silver. Institutions may also enter the market because they realize it's small enough for them to influence prices with big buy orders. They believe that someone else will also place a large or bigger buy order, allowing them to exit their trade. In other words, purchase it for 55, sell it for 62, and see it rise to 70 or another value. Va a ser difícil. I hope it doesn't enter that kind of market, but I think it's more likely to happen than not. This is because a lot of trading in the stock market is done by algorithms and computer trading, where computers compete to get tiny advantages in time. You could see a small gap that we can't recognize with a microscope. Play that gap millions of times and end up making a big profit. I really don't like how technology has affected trading, but I can't change that. All I can do for Charlotte is what I do best and then try to relax. A logical way to think about what is reasonable is to not have any expectations at all. No esperes que sea de una forma u otra, solo observa el mercado. Well, by country, it's China and India. I believe we should see this as a strategy for creating advanced facilities, adding more solar panels, and other similar improvements. I believe India is more focused on investments, especially with the ETFs they currently have, and the population's interest in gold and silver. The Saudis have purchased nearly 1 million shares of the SLV. They have a large enough investment that they could ask to receive silver, and I think that's becoming popular. Sure, Russia purchased silver and platinum not too long ago. Some people know something you might have forgotten. So, you've noticed that silver is beginning to be used by institutions for both investing and industrial needs. I've always believed that one of the benefits of owning silver is that we might find ourselves in a situation where Tesla needs it to help produce items at the factory. The XYZ pension fund needs it to lead their position. They know that silver has a bright future. It's at 55 and it's only going to increase. When these two groups enter silver for different reasons, I believe the public will return to the market. It's just one of those times where you feel like you're missing out because there's no foam here. No, my goodness. I believe that. We never do well with 50, but someone says it's going to 1,000. So buying it at 70 is a good idea. Then it goes to 85, and that person thinks, wow, I'm really glad I got it at 70. Ahora está en 85. But those kinds of actions, can be temporary depending on how fast they occur. Una vez más, no creo que veamos eso. Creo que nos quedan 1 o 2 años por delante. Algunas personas piensan en 10 años. Basically, I think we have about 10 years left due to the silver market's ongoing shortages that we've been experiencing for around 4 years. The issue I see is that it's up to anyone to decide what is right or wrong. I believe we are experiencing a big change in the financial system, which could lead to a future with digital currencies and possibly a cashless society within the next 10 years. We might also consider programmable money, which we currently have, and possibly more control by leaders over our everyday lives. That's one of my main worries, as you know, since we've talked about it several times. So basically, 10 years. Okay, I understand your point, but I don't believe you can rely on that simple prediction about our future path. There is a significant problem approaching with the financial system. It's clear to most people by now. Time, and I don't believe we can continue just getting by like we have for so many years, postponing the issues. I believe we've reached a turning point and changes are coming.